The rumors of it in the market has been around for a long time. And so were we surprised? I don't think so. I don't think anybody in the industry was really surprised. And is it possible to take something that said 16 nanometer and shrink it to 7? These are just numbers. Is it really 7? Did they shrink it down to something that was sufficiently good that you can make a phone from? Yeah, I think so. And so I think there's no magic in these numbers, as you know. It's just 7, the number.
But the question is, what is our lead over them, do you think?
In semiconductors?
Yeah.
In semiconductors, call it a decade. You could decide, call it a decade. But could you take the decade-old technology and just squeeze the living daylights out of it until it produces something that's kind of like something from 5 years ago? Yeah, probably. And so I think there's a lot of clever engineers all over the world, and they're trying to get the most out of.
Let me ask you a different company.
They have.
There's a company called ASML in the Netherlands that's basically responsible for every chip that everybody makes.
Yeah.
Some people might call them a monopoly. How powerful are they in all of this? And should we be worried about that power?
Well, a lot of people depend on them to build the instrument, and they do build very, very good instruments. And the technology is very complicated. It took a long time for them to build it. There's no reason why they don't want to provide it to the world. And so I'm not sure what the question is, but I'm not concerned. I didn't wake up this morning concerned about ASML. I think they're an excellent provider, and they're motivated to supply to us, and so I think everybody's incentives are aligned.
I want to ask you a management question because it's just fascinating, given the success of this company. You constantly say, even at this point in the ballgame, you say, I do everything I can not to go out of business. I do everything I can not to fail. That is like a mantra inside the company, even at this point. What is that about?
What is that about? I think when you build a company from the ground up and you experience real adversity and you really experience nearly going out of business several times, that feeling stays with you. I wake up every morning in some condition of concern, and I don't wake up proud and confident. I wake up worried and concerned about, and so it just depends on which side of the bed you get out on.
This is the Andy Grove, only the paranoid survive.
Well, I think paranoia needs therapy. I don't think people are trying to put me out of business. I probably know they're trying to, and so I that's different. And so I live in this condition where partly desperate, partly aspirational. And
okay, well, let me ask you then about this. You said this to the New Yorker, and I found it fascinating. Again, goes to this idea of failure or worries about failure. But you said this, and this is like news. This is a selfish question. You said, I find that I think best when I'm under adversity, and then you said my heart rate actually goes down. When I'm under adversity, my heart rate goes up by a lot.
Well, let's see. Well, I think during adversity you're more focused, and when you're more focused, you perform better. And I like the last 5 minutes before something you're more focused, and so. I like to live in that state where we're about to perish, and everything, and so I enjoy that condition, and I do my best work in that condition, and I like going home and telling my wife I saved the company today, and maybe it wasn't true, but I like to think so. And so,
another question. We have a lot of business leaders and CEOs here, and I think they're going to be surprised to hear this. You have 40 direct reports at the company.
50 direct reports.
50 direct reports.
Yeah.
most people say, I don't know if we have any consultants in the room, they'd say, you know what, half a dozen, maybe 10, that should be the limit. What's your philosophy or theory here?
Well, the people that report to the CEO should require the least amount of pampering. And so I don't think they need life advice. I don't think they need career guidance. They should be at the top of their game, incredibly good at their craft. And unless they need my personal help, they should require very little management. And so I think that the more direct reports the CEO has, the less layers are in the company.
Right.
And so it allows us to keep information fluid. It allows us to make sure that everyone is empowered by information. And our company, just performs better because everybody's aligned. Everybody's informed of what's going on.
I wanted to open up to questions in just a moment, so please do raise your hand so I can find you. But I want to ask you this. You did a podcast recently, and there were a lot of headlines about it. And you said during the podcast, if you could do it all over again, meaning like if you could start NVIDIA again,
yeah,
you wouldn't.
No.
What did you mean? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, you've done this amazing thing.
Yeah.
You're worth $40 billion personally.
Yeah. That wasn't what I meant. First of all, I think it would be disingenuous if I said that it wasn't, quote, worth it. I enjoy a lot of good things in life. I've got a great family. We built a great company. All of that is worth it. That wasn't what I meant. What I meant was, if people realized how hard something is, and if I would have realized how hard it was, how many times we're going to fail, how the original business plan had no hope of succeeding, that almost the early founders that we built the whole company with, we had to completely relearn just about everything we had to know. If I would have known all of the things that I had to know in order to be a CEO, everything that we had to solve in order to be where we are, that mountain of work, that mountain of challenges, that mountain of adversity and setback and some amount of humiliation and a lot of embarrassment, if you would have piled all of that on in 1993 on the table of a 29-year-old, I don't think I would have done it. I would have said, there's no way I would know all this. There's no way I could learn all this. There's no way we can overcome all this. There's no way, this is a game plan that's not going to work. And so that's what I meant. That I think the ignorance of entrepreneurs, this attitude and I try to keep that today, which is ask yourself, how hard could it be? You approach life with this attitude of how hard could it be? If they could do it, I could do it. That attitude is completely helpful, but it's also completely wrong. It's very helpful because it gives you courage, but it's wrong because it is way harder than you think it is. And the amount of skill that is necessary, the amount of knowledge that's necessary, I think it's one of those teenager attitudes, and I think I try to keep that in the company, that teenage attitude. How hard can something be? It gives you courage. It gives you confidence.
Let's try to sneak in one question or two, if we could. I know Ron Conway had a question last time at a different moment. I don't know if he's still in the room. I felt like I should give him an opportunity, but I see Gary Lauder there. Hey, Gary.
So there are a lot of startups and non-startups doing AI chips optimized for LLMs. Can you talk about, and they claim to be dramatically more effective and energy efficient than GPUs. Can you talk about what you're planning in those regards?
Yeah, first of all, this is one of the great observations that we made. We realized that deep learning and AI was not a chip problem. It's a reinvention of computing problem. Everything from how the computer works, how computer software works, the type of software that it was going to write, the way that we write it, the way we develop software today using AI, creating AI, that method of software is fundamentally different than the way we did it before. So every aspect of computing is changed. And in fact, one of the things that people don't realize is the vast majority of computing today is a retrieval model, meaning just all you do is ask yourself, what happens when you touch your phone? Some electrons go to a data center somewhere, retrieves the file and brings it back to you. In the future, the vast majority of computing is going to be retrieval plus generation. And so the way that computing is done is fundamentally changed. Now, we observed that and realized that about a decade and a half ago. I think a lot of people are still trying to sort that out. It is the reason why, people say we're practically the only company doing it. It's probably because we're the only company that got it. And people are still trying to get it. You can't solve this new way of doing computing by just designing a chip. Every aspect of the computer has fundamentally changed. And so everything from networking to the switching to the way the computers are designed to the chips itself, all of the software that sits on top of it and the methodology that pulls it all together, it's a big deal because it's a complete reinvention of the computer industry. And now we have $1 trillion worth of data centers in the world. All of that's going to get retooled. That's the amazing thing. We're in the beginning of a brand new generation of computing. It hasn't been reinvented in 60 years. This is why it's such a big deal. It's hard for people to wrap their head around it, but that was the great observation that we made. It includes a chip, but it's not about that chip.